sometimes pipelines are kind of overlooked, and they don't receive the attention and the importance that they deserve. You know, folks get busy with other things. Also, I don't know if you can hear this noise outside. I apologize for that. They're doing construction outside my building, and they started about 5 minutes ago. It's like they knew. But we're going to be talking about pipelines this morning today. How do you build a pipeline? What should go in your pipeline? And we're going to focus on why they're so critical to your business development and how you can build one. So before we go any further, let's get on the same page here. What is a federal pipeline? It's a visual organizational tool that tracks multiple government contracting opportunities and their potential buyers through different stages of your sales processes. What this looks like is usually an Excel or a Google sheet, anything that you can like filter in a spreadsheet in the sense that tends to work best for folks, as opposed to like a wall of text in a Word document. And what should your pipeline be doing for you? Expressing a coherent strategy, matching up with where you want your business to be going, where you want to grow. And also, can it be easily understood by people, by a wider audience for your internal and external purposes? Because you are probably not the only person looking at your pipeline. If that's the folks above you, the folks below you, if you want to bring in a consultant to like take a look at your pipeline, see if how we can make it better. You want people to be able to like open the document and understand what's going on and where you're looking to go. And third, you want to be cost conscious, factor in the costs associated with pursuing this work. And so that provides a realistic assessment of how these resources can be deployed and is this worth your time in the long run. Why should you have a pipeline? Because the government posts these different opportunities in more than 90 places throughout the year. That's what we've been tracking, and I'm sure there's more out there hiding under rocks, but we're going to find them. So the government is not very centralized or organized in where they post their things. They say they post them on SAM, but things come out in forecasts ahead of time. You hear things in the news. So if you're not seeing these big opportunities until they show up on SAM, you're behind the curve, and throwing a spaghetti at the wall isn't going to be working for you. So if the government isn't organized, you're the one that needs to be organized and ahead of the game here. And if you have an actionable pipeline, it helps you stay on track and work more efficiently. Some people think pipelines are like kind of a waste of time, but it's actually the opposite. The more updated or the more frequently you update your pipeline, the better off you're going to be and the more time you're going to save. So we're going to jump into how to build your pipeline now that we know why they're so important. So there's 4 main steps, pretty straightforward, and then we'll dive into them in more detail here. You need to determine your front of funnel, your like must-have criteria, where you're looking to go. And then you're going to design it around a usable format, make it work for you, have all the important elements in there. And then you're going to actually go in and fill in the pipeline with opportunities that match your company's capabilities and goals. And then as you go through to maintain it, you'll refine it as you continually like keep checking for new updates. So the first step here is determining your intake criteria for your sales front of funnel. In marketing, they use the funnel to decide how you nail down from a potential buyer to an actual buyer. And we have a couple of examples here for you on the right, where obviously you're trying to sell to the entire federal government, but then you're going to remove people and say, oh, we'd really like to focus on HHS, and even more specifically, the Food and Drug Administrative buyers. And you can do the same thing for place of performance, like you want to work within the continental United States. We'd really prefer to work in Alabama. We'd even more prefer to work in Huntsville. And our absolute goal would be to Redstone Arsenal RSA for you. And again, that's not like the end of it. So you could have Redstone as your goal, but you can also be accepting like Huntsville in there. Like that's just what you prefer to do, but not ruling out anything going along there. But based on these certain criteria, you'll be able to narrow down your potential buyers. And you can do this with a bunch of different things. Like we recommend your time frame, the contract value, what dollar value is worth your time, what isn't, what agencies do you want to work with. That becomes more important when you start to think about things like security clearances and working remotely versus working in person. Where are these offices? What are these clearances that you need? Place of performance and the type of contracts too. Step 2 would be to make your pipeline work for you, design it around a usable format. But in general, in order to be effective, you need your pipeline to be perceivable, operable, understandable, and robust. This does depend on how well it accommodates the user's needs and context, but elements that we usually use to determine this usability are effectiveness, efficiency, engagement, error tolerance, and ease of learning. And error tolerance is also very important here. That can your pipeline support a range of actions? Can it like acknowledge for these common errors in there, and then it can accommodate for its limitations based on the federal environments? We have a couple pro tips for you. I've mentioned this before, but we really prefer using Microsoft Excel or Google Sheets. And this also plays into why you should never delete things from your pipeline. You can make like a different category, a different tab, so it shows up as like red or it's on like sheet 2 for opportunities you didn't win or you're not interested in. This is really useful. It shows where you've come from. And on that same page, you can also use it to things to separate a tab for goals. Like we don't have the capability to do this now, but I would love to get to a place in 5, 10, 15, 20 years down the line that we could do this. So you can keep track of where you'd like to be going as well, even if they're not where you're able to support those opportunities right now. And third, this goes back to people should be able to understand your pipeline very easily. Minimize the jargon and acronyms that aren't really widely understood. We want to make sure people can open it and read it and understand where we're going here. And here we have the anatomy of a good federal pipeline. These are just some of the many things you can include. These are really the basics, the fundamentals of what's going to be included in there, so you know exactly what you want. So opportunity name, pretty straightforward, simple enough. Its procurement status, is it pre-solicitation? Was it in a forecast? Is it active? Where are you in this process? Are you responding to the RFI right now? Are you putting together your proposal? Have you submitted your proposal and you're waiting to hear back? So that shows you immediately right away what you're doing and where your company is in relation to this opportunity. And then the funding agency, where is it coming from? Vehicles are another good one to track as well. And this can also go back to when you have those no bids. If you're seeing a lot of no bids are no bids because they're on these vehicles you don't have, that can be a good way to track and say, oh, maybe we should look into getting on this vehicle, because that would open up all those doors for you and turn a bunch of no bids into bids. And the NAICS and PSC codes are important. The functional areas, solicitation number, the competition type, is this full and open? Is it a small business set aside? That can also shape how you go about approaching it. If there's different criteria you need, maybe you need to be a sub on this if it's full and open and you don't have all that past performance yet. And then the dollar values, that's really important for knowing, like judging the revenue and how much you could be getting out of this. And same goes for if it's a current award that might be up for recompete down the line, what's been awarded under the current incumbent contract. Same goes for the incumbent contract number and the vendor. Just keep an eye on them. And you always need a link in there if you can. SAM.gov is usually helpful, or USA Spending. So you can go back and like open up all the details and see. And also see if there's been any changes to it as well when you're going through and updating it. These are other things you can include in there. The bid type, if you would go after it, is a prime or a sub. The government points of contact, this could be the CO, or usually it is the CO, but maybe you have connections within that funding agency that would be good to like reach out to or keep in mind. The P-win percentage, if you're going to need FTEs or specific labor categories that might be required. Your weighted monthly and overall revenue. The description of scope. The priority level, we like to do red, yellow, green there. So green is like, yes, go, love this, high priority, we're a great fit. Yellow would be maybe if we have time, this is kind of iffy for us. And red would be like your no bids, or this is not a priority for us at this moment in time. The due date for the solicitation, again, seems really straightforward, but it's important to have that all in one place so you can at least organize them. Oh, this one's due before this one, so I should probably focus on the one that's due first. And then the security clearance requirements as well. That's always a good one to have, because that can be an automatic no bid for you too. Step 3 would be to start filling in the pipeline and matching your company's capabilities. A good start point for this is using the NAICS codes and PSC codes for your more effective keyword searches. Industry tends to think in terms of NAICS codes, and government likes to use PSC codes. So that's always something to keep in mind and make sure that you know which PSC codes are best match your offerings. If you need a little bit of assistance on this, we do have a past lunch and learn that you can access as well. And then if you'd like to know how the federal government describes the products and materials or services, I'm trying to think of an example, but like you might call it human resources staffing and they might just call it HR staffing. And the keyword human resources wouldn't show up, but HR would. So you have to be kind of general and learn the language that the government is using for these things as well. And then you need to think about your ROI. Like before including an opportunity in your pipeline, you should assess the costs for opportunity and the accounting costs associated with pursuing this work, and then be prepared to have a realistic conversation of how these resources can be deployed within the bandwidth requirements that you have. Sometimes those are hard conversations, but they're really, really important. So if you account for them in your pipeline, it makes it one step easier to start that conversation. The same goes for if you have defensible P-win rates. These should reflect things like your CPARs, your past performance, your bench strength, HR needs, and capabilities. Can you win? Can you support this? How is that going to affect your revenue flow going forward? These are really important questions that you need to be able to have. And again, having the pipeline helps you start those conversations and keep track of them as well. And I've been saying this over and over again, but you need to make sure it fits with your goals for the future. If you're trying to grow or trying to shift capabilities, add new ones, maybe drop some ones that you've been focusing on, this is all a great place to include that there. There might be some products offering buyers that your company is choosing to diversify from or stop offering altogether. This is a great way to track where you want to be going forward. Step 4 would be to maintain and update your pipeline as you go. You can find these opportunities from the government procurement systems. This is like SAM, Grants, Challenge, DLA, DIBS, all of those 90 places that I mentioned, they're all coming from there. And then also you can take a look at the congressional and oversight documents like the budget documents, GAO reports. Strategic plans are a really good one when you're looking at things that are farther out down the line, because I think those go for typically 4 years ahead of time. So you can see if you're looking for those longer ones where there's no indication of it on SAM or USA spending yet, you can check that to say, oh, this agency might be a good fit for us in the next like 4 years. Communication and social media platforms, we found that finding government POCs and their contact information and reaching out to them, getting responses is usually best served through LinkedIn and other social media platforms as well. Sometimes their contact info can be a little tricky to find, but it's usually pretty easy to find someone on LinkedIn these days. Same goes for networking. If you can get in the room with them, even better. Like forming these business relationships, getting customer referrals, going to the on-sites, if they're having like an industry day, go to those, attend those, make the effort, put the effort in. It's going to be worth your time in the long run. And then what information should you be questioning here when you're going to put things in your pipeline? Is it really funded? Is this a real thing that the government is actually going to do? Or is this just something that they'd say they'd love to do once upon a time, but probably won't? And then is it really worth it for you? The ceiling value versus the actual value. Do you have to continue to work for it? Is this a single award or a multiple award? Because that's going to impact how much effort you have to put into this over the next X years, depending on how long it is. And then is anyone else supporting the customer or the requirement in this space? These can be your competitors or your partners or other federal agencies if they're teaming up for the solicitation. Same goes for who you'll be competing against. Can you meet the needs of your potential customer? Seems very straightforward, but sometimes we get so caught up in like oh, this would be so awesome that we forget about can I actually do this and offer this product or service to the government here? And does this have potential for scope, customer, or revenue growth? Again, aligning with, is this where we want to be going in the future? I like to say a federal pipeline is a living document, so it needs to be maintained. While you're researching and vetting, you must make sure that you also have a standardized process for inputting, updating, and cleaning out the information in your pipeline. This, again, depends on your business. Maybe you can have a meeting once a month to go through all these opportunities, or maybe that's just your individual program or project manager or director of business acquisition going in every week and cleaning it out, updating it. searching for those new opportunities. So you just have to find a system that works, write it down, and then stick with it.
So Haley has provided the what and the so what for pipelines. What I'm going to jump into now is the now what. Probably the most common question we get when we complete a pipeline deliverable for a client is, okay, cool, we have this pipeline. What do we do with it? Couple different things. First, really start digging into the buyer trends that are apparent within your pipeline. These pipelines get better with time. The longer you've had a pipeline that you've continued updating, editing, changing, vetting, the better your data. Building your sales pipeline around that usable format that we talked about allows you to really look back at historical trends and better understand your buyer. Are there keywords that they are using often? Are there places they really like to buy work? Are they using one specific NAICS code over and over and over again? All of these things are very useful pieces of business intelligence for you as you're building out your federal footprint. A well-articulated pipeline also, as Haley mentioned, is an effective planning tool for things like federal vehicle usage. Is there a vehicle that your buyer seems to love that you are just not on and you need to find a way to get on? Are you not sufficiently or effectively targeting your market material to match the way that your buyer is thinking about the market? Are you not allocating sufficient resources and workforce to the right areas? These are all pieces of information that you can get out of a pipeline so long as you're keeping that information both thorough and up to date. This will also help you pinpoint the right federal buyers. So once you know what agencies are buying really what you're selling, then you can start to suss out who is doing the buying. We hear very often, oh, I would like to work with the US government. And we say, okay, who in the US government? And they say, oh, the Department of Defense. I'm like, well, is there anyone specific in the Department of Defense? Is it DLA? Is it DISA? Is it DCMA? Is it the Navy? And they say, okay, well, I'm prior Army, so I really want to do work with the Army. Let me tell you, not even that is sufficient in terms of specificity. Is it PEOEIS? Is it Army Logistics Command? There's so many different places that goods and services are being bought across the federal government that it's really important to know who your true customer is. As you're digging down into these data and finding government POCs and identifying buying offices, this allows you to be more intentional about who you're contacting, making your sales process and prospecting process much more impactful. Most people really don't like getting lots of emails from people they don't know. So if you are just sending emails willy-nilly across the federal government to whoever you can think of, sharing your capabilities brief and saying that you would like to be a vendor of theirs, you're probably going to make some enemies out of folks who really are not relevant to your business and are already getting enough of this from other places and have no interest in sifting through a couple of additional emails that haven't been well researched and targeted. Haley also mentioned competimates. You're going to find a lot of this information in your pipeline. Oftentimes when we are building pipelines for folks, you will see the same 3 to 5 incumbents over and over and over again. Are these friends? Are they foes? Are they both? Understanding who your target customers are buying from gives you a lot of valuable information that you can use kind of all over the board. Maybe, like Haley mentioned, you don't have the past performance that you need to go after a certain opportunity that you're interested in. But you know from your pipeline that another vendor has a lot of experience and has a strong relationship with this agency. Maybe you have a prime sub relationship. Maybe you make a teaming agreement. You can work together. Maybe this goes the other way and you see a vendor that's showing up a lot and you know for certain that you have a capability they don't. That's very good intel to have when you're writing a proposal and trying to make that value differentiation. You can also collect other information about how the incumbent might have impressed the customer. So is there something that they have done over time that the customer finds really attractive? Can you build that into your business model? All of this is actionable intelligence that can make you more effective in the prospecting and sales process. All of this to say, if you remember nothing else from this, what I want you to take away from today, your BD pipeline matters a lot.